Chemtrails. Fact or fiction? Part 1 of 2. What are chemtrails? During my lifetime, what comes out of a passenger jet's tail has dramatically changed. In the 1970s and 1980s, jet planes had a contrail, or vapors that were emitted out of the back of the plane during flight. This vapor trail lasted about 10 seconds and then dissipated rapidly and vanished. This phenomenon is visible when jet planes fly in our upper atmosphere, about 10,000 feet and higher. A contrail is the official term for a plane's high-altitude exhaust. Since the mid to late 1990s, a new kind of contrail has developed. This exhaust plume does not dissipate in 10 seconds. It is a vapor cloud that fans out and lasts for hours in the sky. This is witnessed worldwide and not specific to any one region. These new contrails have been given a name by troubled citizens. They are now called chemtrails. Due to their chemical nature, these new contrails occasionally span from horizon to horizon, and they look like a vast spiderweb in the sky. Often this new vapor trail is rather bumpy, like a coarse rope, and very thick. If someone has the patience to watch chemtrails, you would see that these ropes across the sky artificially cloud us from the sun. The trail and subsequent vapor cloud can last for hours. However, these chemtrails are not produced every day. In fact, most days are void of these chemtrails, and jet planes conduct their business without creating a haze in our upper atmosphere. Normal contrails are seen on these days lasting 0 to 10 seconds. Many explanations have been offered by our trusted leaders over the last 20 years. The most common answer to chemtrails versus contrails is that commercial planes are flying higher than they did in the past. That fact is added to the speculation that atmospheric conditions at this higher level varies more and ice crystals remain suspended at these altitudes when conditions are right. Thus, nothing really has changed in jet's fuel, but it now leaves vapors that last for hours and turn into clouds on some days when conditions are right. Air traffic has greatly increased over the last 2 or 3 decades, and this has led to some hazy days in our upper atmosphere. This is widely accepted. As I study the skies on the days that contrails don't go away but become artificial clouds, I notice that not all jets leave chemtrails from horizon to horizon. On the days where the sky is full of chemtrails, normal contrails are seen, lasting less than 10 seconds and fly at similar or even greater altitudes as the planes spraying out the plumes. So on chemtrail hazy days, not all high-flying jets leave chemtrails. Most do, but some don't. And those clear days when planes all have contrails, you don't see a single chemtrail. So the theory that planes leave more crystals now when conditions are right because they are flying higher seems a little weak to me. Pressure changes between fronts could also play a part in a logical explanation, or great changes in temperature and water availability and how a jet's exhaust reacts in it seems like a likely explanation too. I have found that by tracking the daily weather and chemtrail activity on a calendar, I see chemtrails when it is hot, cold, windy, calm, dry, or humid. However, this record does show that chemtrailing often precedes a rain event within 48 hours. What is not clear to me is whether an approaching front creates the chemtrails and subsequent haze, or whether some entity changes the fuel in the jets in a region before a rain event occurs. This fuel would have additives of aluminum, barium, strontium, and other possible ingredients. This seems far-fetched, but not impossible. Chemtrails in central Iowa have noticed another pattern. They seem to also kind of block the sun at sunrise and sunset on most days, and we're not sure why that is. What is quite obvious is that chemtrailing seems to follow a grid-like pattern. Plane routes appear evenly spaced on some days across the sky, and as one observes the chemtrails for several hours, a grid network slowly forms, like a spiderweb making a web across the sky. When the grid is complete, the entire sky sort of melts into a milky white, shiny chemical cloud. Like a pair of sunglasses, the planet is shielding from about 20% of the sun's rays. This leads to the theory that chemtrails are being used to reverse the effects of global warming. The sun's activity, known as solar flares, has increased in the last year or two, and now we have 2 satellites filming the sun and allowing scientists to first-hand look at these amazing explosions of magma that are being flung into space. Some of these flares are taking days to detach from the sun and could cause damage on Earth if we took a direct hit from one of these solar oddities. Chemtrailing seems to be prominent when solar flare warnings go out. When a warning is posted that a flare has occurred on the sun, the next day chemtrailing is almost always heavy. A YouTube sensation called "What in the World Are They Spraying?" suggests a more diabolical application of the chemical spraying from jet fuel exhaust. This video puts out some of the views I've expressed, and then it looks at what is being found in snow and rainwater samples collected recently. It also points out that chemtrails are a tool of an organization called geoengineers. These are scientists worldwide that wish to control the weather and global conditions by forms of atmospheric manipulation. They admit they can do so with chemtrails programs, but it is hard to get them to say how far they have taken their experiments and what success they are having playing God with our atmosphere. Geoengineers point themselves out as the good guys and the secret protectors of Earth. It is said that we will soon be able to control most weather on Earth in the next decade or so through some various techniques that these people use. The water and snow samples tested in this video show an alarming amount of aluminum and lesser amounts of barium and strontium as foreign elements in our air. These should not be in our rainwater. This combination of elements is of great health concern to not only the people, but also immediately the soil and the water and the microorganisms that live there. In man, these toxins will cause several health risks if ingested through the air and oral ingestion via our food and water. The main component, being aluminum, has had its effects on life studied. Respiratory irritation and damage to the mucous lining of our lungs is probable. Burning eyes and sore throats and running noses, as well as troubled breathing, may be related to aerosol aluminum. Sterility is also a side effect. Asthma may be one of the things that is on the rise due to this pollutant. Alzheimer's syndrome could also be linked to aluminum in our bodies. All of these illnesses are on a dramatic increase throughout the world. Now, I replicated the water collection research from the video and caught my own rainwater in a sterile mason jar during the first week of July 2011. 3 days of heavy chemtrails preceded a heavy rainstorm here, and a good volume of water sample was collected. The sample was taken to Minnesota Valley Testing Laboratories in Nevada, Iowa, and I had the sample tested for aluminum. Their blank water sample tested at 0.034 micrograms per liter of aluminum, as seen in the report. I'll be posted at the end of the video. My rainwater sample tested at 0.447 micrograms per liter. Subtracting the blank reading from the sample reading leaves you with over 0.4 micrograms per liter of aluminum in my water sample. That's a staggering amount, folks. The EPA should have to act on this pollution level if they tested our rainwater. Wastewater is tested and its guidelines are set, and this reading is reported to be 4 times higher than would be allowed. More testing is needed by myself and others to verify these results, of course. Collection jars should be carefully cleaned with soap and water and rinsed with isopropyl alcohol to remove any contaminants. And rain should be collected in an open area where there's no trees or guide wires to interfere with your water sample. Soil testing is also needed here. Aluminum could be very detrimental to our soil and its ability to grow food. It changes the pH of soil from a neutral pH that will grow food to an acidic pH that will not grow food. The aluminum that would have to accumulate over time until it reached a tipping point in our soil, then produce produce and plant life would grow poorly or not at all under these conditions.